In this episode, let's have a listen to the new NoiseAssist plugin from Sound Devices. First of all, this is a noise reduction plugin for the Sound Devices Scorpio 888 and 833. It is designed to help manage and reduce background noise. By background noise, in specific terms, I think what they're referring to is HVAC, fans, potentially traffic, generators, all those sort of broadband sounds that are pretty constant, not something that's changing all the time. It is a noise reduction plugin, not a noise elimination plugin. It's important to, I think, understand that. Let's get you some samples. Here's another test. In this case, we have an air filter down here. Currently running. I have another fan in the key light over here. It's about 2 meters away. And another in the fan, or the light back here, which is putting the shaft of light on the wall here behind me. That's about 2.5 meters away behind me. Audio is coming in through a Shure Twinplex TL47 lavalier microphone, audio limited A10 transmitter. The receiver is sending a digital audio signal out into the 888. This is with the noise assist turned off. Let's go ahead and turn it on and see what we get. So here's 1, 2, 3 dB of attenuation, and it has definitely cut down the background noise a little bit by about 3 dB, as it turns out. And the question is, how does this affect or does it color my voice when it does that attenuation? So that's the real question here. Let's go ahead and continue to decrease that, or to attenuate even more. Here we are at 4 dB of attenuation, and the question is does this start to color my voice a little bit more now, overall? And here is 5 dB of attenuation. Again, just checking. I'm going to keep talking here so you can see whether this colors my voice. And then finally, 6 dB of attenuation. Now, the reason I'm doing this with a lavalier is I wanted to see if there was any difference in terms of having a close mic versus a boom mic. Obviously, a body-worn mic is about as close as you can get. A boom mic is typically going to be about 12 inches away, maybe a little bit more, depending on how wide of a shot you're doing. Could be significantly more. My hypothesis is that with a closer mic, you're going to get better results from NoiseAssist, simply because it has a stronger signal to noise ratio to work with. So there we go. This is 6 dB. Let's go ahead and bump that to 7 dB, 8 dB, and 9 dB of attenuation. You can really hear the fan noise falling off at this point. And the question is how well is it holding up in terms of capturing my dialogue without coloring it too much? So let's keep going. Here we are at 10 dB of attenuation, 11 dB of attenuation, and 12 dB of attenuation. It's a little bit harder when you're monitoring yourself to tell, to really kind of do the critical listening where you can really tell what is happening. And I think I'm hearing some clamping down on my voice, so it is definitely coloring it at some level at this point. Let's go to 15 dB. There was definitely something there with that breath I took in between phrases. So it's now struggling a little bit more to be able to differentiate between background noise versus the dialogue itself, and you're starting to get some artifacts. Obviously, this is extreme here. You probably wouldn't normally push it this far. Here we are at minus 18 dB of attenuation, and then while we're here, we may as well bump it all the way to the max, minus 20 dB of attenuation. So seems to me at this point it's definitely coloring my voice. Let's pull this back. Now we're going to drop to 5 dB. I think the sweet spot is somewhere in here, the threshold, the point at which we start getting some really obvious artifacts on my voice, somewhere in this area, maybe minus 6 dB. And I think really the art here is taking the edge off of the noise without affecting the dialogue, obviously. So here we are back down to 3 dB of attenuation. Definitely hear the fan again, but it is quieter if I drop it here to 0. There's the fan in all its distracting glory. And if I bump it back up to minus 3 dB, you can see it does definitely take the edge off there. If I go to 4 or 5, now we're at 5 dB, definitely hearing that fall behind the dialogue a little bit more. So definitely something worth considering. So I think that sweet spot is somewhere in there. There's a little sample for you. Here we are in the kitchen. I have a dishwasher running. I've got the hood fan running right now. The refrigerator is not currently running, but it may come on. So this is what that sounds like. I've intentionally put the fan behind me, and we're booming at a pretty typical distance here, probably about, for a more of a head and shoulders kind of shot. So probably 12 to 15 inches from me here. This is a Sennheiser MKH 8050 coming into an 888, and this is with no noise assist on. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of noise assist. Okay, there's 1 dB of noise assist. You can also hear birds. I have these windows right here behind me open, and so you're getting some birds chirping as well. That's 1 dB of noise assist. Here we are at 2 dB of noise assist, and now at 3 dB of noise assist. So I'll talk for a little bit here to see if this is coloring my voice in any fashion. I think so far from what I can hear, it's a little bit difficult, of course, when you're monitoring yourself, but I think we're sounding okay so far. We're going to go ahead and apply some more. Okay, here's 4 dB of attenuation, and we're going to go to 5 and then all the way to 6. Minus 6 dB, and I think I might be starting to hear some things on my voice. So we've obviously got a lot less going on in the background at this point, so that's helped there. But of course, you're going to want to find that sweet spot where it's not affecting or coloring the sound of your voice substantially, or the person you're recording, of course, but it's also reducing some of the background. So this is at 6 dB. Here we are at 7 dB, 8 dB, and 9 dB. So 9 dB of attenuation. There was something funny there with my breath in between phrases. I think it's gonna, the algorithm is gonna have to work to figure out what's a breath, what's dialogue, and figure out what to do with it. So here we are at 9 dB. It's important to understand this is not the same as a noise gate or an expander, which is typically used in a lot of music production and live broadcast in traditional senses. And really what those do is that in between phrases, they reduce the noise floor, but they don't reduce the noise floor or background noise during speaking or dialogue. So this is quite different. It's going in and removing that broadband noise even during the dialogue. So much more sophisticated than a noise gate. You can use 2 instances at any given time on isolated microphone inputs, or the left bus or the right bus. That gives you a little bit of flexibility. So typically, if I'm doing a scripted piece where there's going to be post-production, I would probably put it on one of the buses and go ahead and get the unprocessed ISOs as well, so I'd have the ultimate in flexibility in post. Very simple to use in terms of setting. There is one setting, and that is how much attenuation do you want to apply. And it ranges from 1 dB of attenuation all the way up to 20. My sense in the testing that we've done so far is that you're probably going to want a very light touch. This is true of any sort of noise reduction algorithm, whether it's live or in post. And I think really for beginners, sometimes they think, oh, I want to destroy the noise, get rid of it entirely. And that never works without creating some sort of artifacting on the voice. So I think really the idea here, of course, is a light touch where you just sort of take the edge off. And if you do that, you won't start to get the artifacting in the dialogue itself. I think I've also observed that you are generally going to get better results with a close mic versus a mic that's farther away. If you're booming and you're 2 meters away, I think you're probably best off not using this. But once you get the mic up much closer, then it becomes much more realistic, and especially with lavalier microphones. In terms of the amount of attenuation, somewhere between 1 and 5 is generally going to be the most, I would think, common type of application here. I think if you go much farther than that, in some of the cases, for example here, in an outdoor scene near an interstate highway, we went to 10 dB and it was clearly too much. Here's a test outdoors. We have Interstate 80 behind me here, about 100 yards, and you can get a sense for what it sounds like. We got the DPA 4017B short shotgun microphone boom just above me right here. Let me just let you hear the traffic for a bit. Also got a road over here, some of that's bleeding in. Okay, Okay, let's go ahead and apply the noise assist, and we're going to apply 10 dB of attenuation here. Okay, that's with 10 dB of attenuation, so you can hear what that sounds like. We just had an 18-wheeler pass behind us here, just to give you a sense for how this affects things. And I want to talk for just a second here so you can get a sense for how this colors my voice, if at all. So again, DPA 4017B, boomed above, got active traffic, mostly larger trucks driving behind us. Now, the first question that's going to come up is there's been a splash recently with graphics cards that can now do noise reduction processing. And that's great, but that's a very different use case in my mind. I think that's going to be more useful for post. And the reason for that is, number one, the power envelope is a very different thing. It uses much, much more power than something like this, which is not using artificial intelligence. It's using an algorithm. And the other difference is the latency. So on the graphics card processing, you're typically looking at something like 50 milliseconds of latency. In the case of Noise Assist, you are looking at 1 millisecond of latency. So that's going to be much more practical for production purposes, especially if you're doing anything live, but also if you're doing anything where you need to have all of the different inputs within a reasonable amount of sync of each other. Plugin is available over at the Sound Devices website, over at the plugin store. The current price is $600 US at the time of this little test here. So hope that was helpful. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave those down below. And if you've not already subscribed, make sure you do that. And we'll be sure to get you more great videos on how to improve your lighting and sound for video. Talk to you soon.